venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde.
I just got three things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine.
Spirit, lead me where my trust We're declaring this tonight. Spirit,
Threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Yeah. Drinking dope turned me to a superhero. Yeah. Hit that pill, turned me to a superhero.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's a new year. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to go over my performance for 2025, which was dismal, but, you know, I'm honest, and I'm going to let you guys know what was good and bad, and we'll go over that. I want to finish here real quick. I want to show what Venezuela was like before Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro turned it into the dystopian, socialist, gang-infested, drug-infested shithole of a country that it is, which is what the Colombian socialist leader wanted to do. His term's up in August, by the way. Probably not going to win. Really low approval rating. It's what the people in Chile were doing. It's what was happening in Argentina for almost 100 years. It's the same shit over and over and over and over again. And this is just another view into that right here, 30 seconds. Oh, sorry. Venezuela was the second richest country in South America before the bullshit, and they were the number one producer of F-150 Ford vehicles on the planet, and yet it turned into what it is today. So when you hear a bunch of noise from people that are complaining about us going into Venezuela, listen to the people of Venezuela, the largest, one of, if not the largest migration out of a country in recent history. Over 8 million people fled Venezuela just to live, just to survive. And so what we've done there is amazing. The fact that we did it in a few hours is even greater. And you can't call it a war when it took 2 hours to come in there and do what we needed to do. And we're going to continue to do what we have to do. We're gonna work within the law to do it. I think that's the thing that liberals hate the most, and America will benefit from this. We're going to talk about all the reasons why America will benefit from what they've done in Venezuela and are going to continue to do, and then also how we're going to benefit when Iran falls, maybe this week. So to get started off, though, let's just go through the shitty parts. Less Livingston, more James invest answers influence this year. I'm not even sure what that means. But are you talking about Adam? Anyway, 2025 recap. And then we'll get caught up on comments too, because I do want to talk to those. I ended the year down 49% year over year. Super depressing. Roughly around 2.83 million. Still up from the lowest of lows. I do want to show something here. So this recap that I did last year, right? What's really super sad about this is I owned a lot of good stuff in here. I didn't own enough Palantir, but I owned Micron. Didn't keep it. Wish I would have. Wish I would have added to that position. Wish I wouldn't have been so distributed into crypto. You can see me chasing, and I there's a little bit of a typo that I have up above. We'll talk about that when we get to it. But you can see me trying to chase MSTR, which had topped out in December of 2024. You can see me trying to chase that here. But you can see I was smart. You see I had Tesla. You see I had cash. I was doing really good, 5.57 million at the beginning of the year. I was in PayPal with options. That didn't turn out well. I exited it because that was just, I believe it's a trash company. Might do all right this year, though. I had shit coins, which I did exit. Probably should have done it at a better time. I had CleanSpark, ARCG, MSTX, 2X funds. Horrific. Never touching those again. I had Iron. Iron would have been a great one to hold. For the year of 2025. I shouldn't have been in this. I should have been in this. Mike tried to tell me, Mike Alfred, and I didn't. But SoFi, I knew SoFi was great. I knew Hood was great. I knew Nvidia, Micron. I knew all these things were like good investments that were going to do really well. But again, I just didn't have the focus, and I was very heavily focused on Bitcoin. And I want to talk to this because I do believe that people get caught up in the shiny and they miss the truth. And I want to give you guys the truth. And being down half of the value of my portfolio from the beginning of 2025 is depressing at best. But it is what it is. I got myself where I am. And you have to own things in life, right? So I said it's not a good... having things that work can make you arrogant. It can make you lazy. Having things work is easier for most people, right? Making money and just having it work out is great. You can really get caught in over trading. You can really, and you get damaged by other things like excessive leverage, and positioning based upon charts and squiggles like Mike Alfred likes to talk about. It's true. These are major dangers, and I want to talk to those. I said, so we're going to talk about the bad. I said, I'll also talk about my renewed focus on the fundamentals of what I'm investing in. So I feel really confident in macro right now, guys. I feel really good about where America's at. Not that there won't be bumps in the road, but today is a good representation of what's going right. Strive was up 17% on Friday. It's up almost 10% today. Iron is up another 5% after being up 13% on Friday. MicroStrategy's up again. CleanSpark's up a total of 20% in the last 2 business days. BM&R is doing something similar. A lot of these are really doing, and the defense sector I think is doing well today too, which is an area where again I'm trying to diversify. I've got a lot of money, a decent amount I should say, still in Bitcoin, but those things are also kind of tied to AI, so they can benefit from Bitcoin doing well. Because some of these companies are literally holding Bitcoin and still mining it, but they're also transitioning and trying to focus on AI because there's a lot of financial benefits for them. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I've got money in the defense sector. I've got money in genomics. I've got money in TLT as a hedge, not to make profit, but just as a hedge. And I've got money in a lot of better diversification, I think, this year. I still think this year is going to be high beta. We'll talk about the reasons why for that. But again, less focus on squiggles, even though those are helpful for entries and exits, but more focus on the fundamentals, the financials, the quarterly results. Do I own what I want to own? Do I believe in the companies fundamentally that they're undervalued and or that they're going to do amazing in the years ahead? That is going to be my driving focus for 2026. I will give you macro related news. I'm really good at the macro. I've crushed it on the macro, but I want to focus on my individual investments because I think that's where I went awry in 2025. And I started to chase, and we'll talk about all that. So I said, what went wrong? Huge list. It's easier to say what didn't. I can tell you this. The vast majority of my mistakes were due to market timing and being in leverage. See, leverage propelled my account to new highs in 2023 when I called the bottom of the market in late 2022 with the help of people like Michael Howell and many others that could just see that we were overextended. To me, that was the easiest time to invest, and it was amazing. And being up 600% year and 54 the next was a good time. I was upset about 54 being up 54% in 2024 because I thought I could have done a lot better, and I could have. But 2025 was really the painful lesson. So the leverage part, I said the leverage was a fatal mistake, and it is. I go, lesson. You'll see people on here that'll make insane amounts of money over short periods of time. They'll show you how they turn $30,000 into $10 million in a year, and everyone will latch onto that, thinking that that's how you do it. I can tell you it is not. See, people like James Wynn might have got to $100 million in a year. Remember, $100 million wasn't enough for him. He said that he wanted $1 billion. He set a target, which I think is a horrible idea and something I did too. And I will not be doing it again because it gives you these emotions of being behind and needing to play catch up for an arbitrary number that you're putting out into the world. And I don't think it's a good idea when you're investing. I think you should be focused on, is this the right investment? Could the macro be causing some tailwinds where I have to hold on to it longer, and staying out of leverage so that when bad times do come, you can lever into that on lows. When Tesla was down 75%, easy buy. When Palantir was down over 80 and the $7 and I was recommending it, easy buy. Robinhood at the lows, easy buy. SoFi, easy buy. There were so many. I made 1,600% off of Robinhood. Wish I would have kept it longer. I would have done even better. Understanding iron, all these things just could really treat you well. But if you're James Wynn and you're living by the minute and you made $100 million and you lost all of it, essentially, you're not going to be happy with your life. So I said, instead, focus on what matters, picking the right companies, investments, and allowing enough time for you to make money from them. Use leverage, sure, but only a fraction of the time when the odds are just incredibly in your favor and you have years for it to play out. That's the primary lesson I've learned. I said, next came timing. Instead of focusing on understanding why a company like MicroStrategy was going to crush it, I should have put in 2024. I sold out early from the investment and watched it race by without me. So true. I had leaps. I could have made so much money off of MicroStrategy, but I wasn't taking the time to understand why they were going to do so well with their strategy. I was worried about downside risk. And miners, I knew miners still had a tough game, but it had worked previously, so it wasn't focused on fundamentals, which should have been my driving factor. And then when AI came onto the scene, I discounted it quickly. Eventually, I got on board with iron because of people like Mike Alfred. But if I would have listened to him earlier, I would have made so much more money. So much more. There's so many mistakes like that in my life where I could have made so much more money. You can't dwell on them, but you can learn from them. And that's what we're going to do. So I said I sold out early from the investment and watched it race by without me. I did this exact same thing with mini stocks. Again, Hood has done really great this year. SoFi has done really great. SoFi, I was talking to people about it in the $8 range. It's $27.72 in pre-market. Hood, I was talking about Hood and telling people that it was a great investment to buy. What level was that at even? Right around $10 or something like that. It's up 10x, right? And I was in options. I made 1,600%, but damn, dude, could I have made so much more money off of that? And again, even Palantir, I loved as a company, but I thought, oh, I've already made so much. I exited out of that because I was very technicals focused, and I wasn't focusing on the fact that Alex Karp is a badass, and Joe Lonsdale and this entire team are just amazing people doing amazing things, and that they would just continue to crush it year after year. Now, it's kind of hard to get super interested in Palantir at a $400 million valuation. But when I wrote a post talking about how it was only worth, I think it was 800 billion, or I'm sorry, 8 billion at the time instead of 400. It was just a different time, and it was very exciting, and I should have held on to it. Mike Alfred is Signal. He's a great dude, man. He's a great dude, and I have utmost respect for him, and people gain my respect in life. They don't just get it by default. And he has that. But again, I missed out on a bunch of opportunities. I was hyper focused on Bitcoin and crypto because it had happened before. That's how I'd made a lot of my money, and I was going for it again. And I was ignoring the fact that the markets were pushing towards metals. I was ignoring the fact that everybody was in the trade. Everybody was in Bitcoin and crypto. And because of that, there was no opportunity over the short term. People weren't in metals, so everybody rushed into that. Now everybody's talking about metals, even people that were like Bitcoin and crypto people. But they're looking at market caps that are 32 trillion for gold and like 7 or something for silver at a time when Bitcoin is like 1.8. And they're going to make the mistake that I made too, and that other one was chasing. Again, my final failure I put was chasing gains. Example, once I realized that I had missed the boat on MSTR, I bought that. Then it started to go down. I'd went into it with 2x funds, just the most retarded fucking shit a person can do. And then when that wasn't working out, I jumped over to Metaplanet to try and get on that ride, rode it up a little bit, rode some of it down too, and then just jumped into a series of Bitcoin treasuries thinking that I was still, again, I had that fixed timing on Bitcoin and crypto, and I knew that that was going to happen again, which it did not because everybody was in that fucking trade. Some of those Bitcoin treasuries are down anywhere from 90 to 99% from their highs, utterly devastated. And so I said, what did I do right? I did make money with leverage in companies like Tesla and Iron and a few others, but in the end, buy and hold, tunnel vision focus on my holdings would have been a much better plan. And tunnel vision's a bad word because I don't like that because it keeps you from seeing things that are around you. But just being really focused on what I was invested in, that should have been the key. And trying to diversify that should have been the key. Coincilium, oh, don't bring it up, bro. But yes, all that stupid shit, right? I put, in the end, I hope my mistakes will be a lesson for you, and I'm sorry that my greed and lack of a longer-term vision caused such failure. Note, I will update my portfolio today, but one of the main reasons I haven't yet is because my broker was down yesterday. My primary's Ally. They're not great. And I've got a lot of money on there, so I need those numbers in order to be able to show everything. But that's roughly where it was, 2.83 as of Friday close. Well, right around that time, right around the new year. And it's probably up even more today, maybe hopefully closer to 3, because that would be a nice number to get back to. But again, I did get things right, and I do want to talk to this. I'm really great at macro. I think everybody here can attest to the fact that I have a pretty good vision of the future. If it's short term and short sighted, it doesn't always work out well. But with companies like, or I should say with the macro, like I knew at the beginning of the year Trump was going to win the election. I knew he was going to take the House and the Senate. I literally said that before the 9.5-hour marathon video that we did, because I did a really good job paying attention to polling and digging into the details to make sure that I knew that he would win. So I'm really good at that. I also understood that the April tariffs were not going to be inflationary. I will admit I was broadsided by just how big Trump's balls were. I did not think that he was literally going to tariff the shit out of every country on earth. So that caught me off guard. That caused me pain right at the beginning of the year. And then again, other pains from chasing and everything else. But I said I knew that Trump's pro-growth policies would end up being very beneficial to this country. We're going to see a lot of that in 2026. I knew the tariffs were a net positive for America because I could see that Trump was using them as a weapon to force companies to spend money in the United States and then giving them vast incentives to do that, with the no corporate tax and the fact that they could write off like their software expenses, all their physical infrastructure, really cool stuff. And so I knew all of this was going to be a really positive thing for the United States. We're starting to see some of that at the end of 2025. And now I think 2026 is really the year that that's going to happen, which makes me feel so much better because last year, I was worried. I was trying to get this Bitcoin run, hoping that that was going to be the thing, hoping that all the money printing destroying the world was going to help enrich me a little bit. But I would rather be where I am right now. And where we are right now is we've done the right things to fix our fucking country. We're doing the right things to fix this fucking world. And if losing 50% makes those things happen, I'm more than willing to put that into the coffer. And I am stoked about where we fucking are right now. Not as somebody who's lost money and wants to chase, but somebody who truly believes that America is on the right course, and as somebody who believes that Art Laffer and Ronald Reagan's approach, of which we're doing now, and I think in some ways we're doing in spades, contrary to what Art might think, I think these tariffs have been a blessing. And I'm just stoked because now I have hope. I've been right about the macro. I'm really good at the macro. I told you oil was going to be down all year. Let's look at oil. What does oil look like? Well, let's see. It's not too far from where I've been talking about, right? I called the top over here. I talked about why we would bounce over here. I called the top again over here. Actually, no, this is the wrong chart. I called the top over here. And I said, everybody was talking about $200 oil at close to $130 a barrel. I said it's going to go down, and everything that's happened has only made me more positive about that. Today it's up 0.87 because people are short-sighted, and they think that what's happening right now with Venezuela will, over the short term, provide a little bit of a bump in oil's price. Note, OPEC did not change their limits. They did not lower the amount they were producing to try and stabilize prices or do anything with it. I also told you that the dollar was going to weaken. Let me find that real quick here. I told you the dollar was going to weaken, right? And I told you fundamental reasons for why the dollar was going to weaken. Because we wanted it to, right? Because we wanted it to. Everybody did the strong dollar milkshake theory thing all the way up until about, again, the end of 2022. And that's when the market started to get better. We had a little bump up over here because of Trump and what was going on there, right? But we want a weak dollar because we want to increase manufacturing in the United States and be an exporter to the world. We want people building in the United States. And so we want to keep that down. We want to keep rates down. We want to keep oil down. And we're going to succeed at all those things in 2026. And again, those are things that I was right about before. So, yeah. So anyway, I think that this year is going to be amazing, and I'm very, very excited about it. I'm very excited about Bitcoin. We're going to be talking about the reasons for that. I'm going to get caught up in chat right now. We're going to talk again about the geopolitics going on around in the world because there's just so much happening. This month is still going to be crazy, guys. We've still got the MSCI potential delisting happening for these Bitcoin treasury companies, with MicroStrategy being a key target. That could slow things down if that ends up happening. We got a Bitcoin CME gap to 88K still. Totally agree with that, Alex. That could pull us back down. Again, that MSCI delisting, if that happens in 10 days, that could totally pull us down temporarily, get people worried, and then we take off again. But either way, I'm not focused on what happens over the short term. I just don't care. But there are headwinds in front of us. That could happen. We also have the potential for the Supreme Court to come back. Now, I want to be clear. The Supreme Court, if they come back and they say that the tariffs are unconstitutional, that does not mean they're going to roll back the tariffs. I think there is no chance of tariff rollbacks. And I think what would end up happening is Trump would just have to file a new article or new justification for his tariffs under a different clause. And I think that's exactly what would happen. I don't even know that that's going to happen, though. I think they might rule that they're constitutional. You got to realize Trump's won over 90% of his Supreme Court rulings in this second term. Okay, they've done a really good job from the judicial side. Everybody's asking, why aren't we arresting more people? I mean, does Pam Bondi charging Maduro count for anything? There are objectives that you complete, but you do them in a certain order. And building up a judicial path showing win, and continuing that is how you end up convicting people later on, and it is how you are able to move forward and do the right things without having to worry about losing over and over and over again, right? You do an executive action, and you make sure that you do that under something where you have a reasonable chance of winning in the Supreme Court, and then you proceed ahead. And that is what this administration has done and done really well at. I think that continues heading into 2026. But again, concerns with what happens with that. We also have the potential for a government shutdown, which I think is pretty likely. at the end of January. So the next month, I think, could still be rocky. But after that, I see beautiful things. And if there's anything I've learned, and I hope you've learned, at least if nothing else by looking at me, is that it's better to have a longer term vision and do your due diligence on the fundamentals after you understand what the macro environment looks like. The macro looks beautiful to me, guys. Even if the Supreme Court ruling went against us, even if there's an MSCI delisting, even if we shut down the government, I do not give a fuck. I am incredibly excited about this next year. And there can always be things that happen, but I have so little leverage now. And again, I'm going to update my portfolio. I'll get that out. And maybe I'll even do another video just talking about that and some of the companies sitting within it, because there are other companies in there. I've got Red Cat, RCat, drone company, ONDS, another drone company. Kraken, again, similar concept. They actually do work with Anduril. So I want to talk about some of these newer listings and just where I'm sitting now, because I think it's well overdue. I was kind of checked out at the end of the year. I'm not going to lie. It's really a bummer not only to fail at something you love and where you're trying to help people, but it's worse when you have all the negativity that has been out there for months now, from October, November, December, and all the hateful things you see, being in the position that I'm in, where you've got a larger profile on social media. It's really painful to watch your likes go down. It's painful to post anything positive whatsoever and have every fucking post shit on by numerous fucking people. It ain't easy, but it's what I've signed up for. And I got a feeling that's going to change. And so we're not going to dwell on it too much. But I love you guys. Let me look at chat here. Let's see. Mop says, morning, Jesse from Bangkok. Let's forget about 2025 and hope for a greater 2026. Yes, sir. Gnome, Happy New Year, Jesse. Ready to hit the reset after it. Buy and hodl from now on. That's going to be most of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll rebalance my portfolio. But, and there's going to be times where I use leverage, but I'm going to do it in very, very calculated ways. It's much easier to use leverage when Tesla has dropped 75% and it's been down for a couple of years and you know what's happening with the company, right? You could do a 2-year leap on that and feel pretty good about life. So that's the kind of stuff that I want to do in the future. I want to be smart with my money, not just risking it all the time. I'm too old for that shit. I'm 48. Kirby Tax, Happy New Year's, folks. Let's rise together and make 2026 awesome. Happy New Year. Morning, Team Jesse from, oh, that was you? Let me go down here. The green arrow squiggles haven't worked for a while. Yeah, they don't. Here's the thing. They will. Like, right, I crushed it in 2023 with all of those, like, to a T. But the problem is, if you just look at the squiggles and you don't focus on the fundamentals, it's going to be a big problem, right? I exited Palantir, I want to say with like 500% in gains. Maybe it was 600. I don't remember too well anymore. If I would have held on to that, super rich. If I would have held on to MSTR, super rich. If I would have held on to Hood longer and not dialed out so quickly, super rich. Those squiggles and even the leverage can be powerful and make you tons of money. I will not be exiting winning positions super fucking fast. And I don't know. I'll be a lot more humble, and I'll be dialing out of leverage during circumstances like that and going into the underlying stock for the most part. If I do something like that with leverage again in the future, it won't be just exiting it right away. Again, it'll be focused on the individual companies. Dude, separate yourself from Mike Alfred. That guy is self-absorbed jerk. I mean, you could say something about self-absorbed. I get that. But I also think he's brilliant. And I'm not separating myself from him. I love brilliant people that do a really good job being right and that spend most of their time making sure that they're understanding the industry that they're invested in. There's a reason he's worth so much money, and it's probably over $100 million because he's not an idiot. And those people I will follow. I don't care how arrogant they are. Hubris is definitely something that comes with success. I definitely had enough of it the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. And it cost me a lot, I think, in the last, year and a half, 2 years. That was the other thing I didn't mention, but you guys had great suggestions. Like ONDS was one, Iron was one. There were just a bunch of companies where you're like, Jesse, why aren't you looking at this? EOS Energy, my friend Jeff Lutz was talking about that too. So much money could have been made when that thing was down at what? Less than $1. Right now it's $13.12. So many things like that where I should be listening to you guys as well, because I don't have to just be the prophet, right? I don't have to be that guy. I can be the person who is really good at doing research, spends a lot of time doing it, focuses on the things that matter, and then listens to people when they have ideas, right? Smart people when they have ideas. And the other thing I want to do this next year is filter down my list of people that I'm paying attention to, because I want to hear what Mike Alfred has to say. I want to hear what Tom Lee has to say. I want to hear what Jordy Visser has to say. I want to hear what really smart people that are in the know or visionaries, I want to hear what they have to say. And I don't want to be as cocky as I've been. I want to absorb as much as I can, and from you guys, because that's another thing I didn't do enough of. And so here's what I've thought about as far as the videos go, guys. I think the Monday thing is still going to be the thing. That's when I'll do this stuff, okay, and kind of give you my big picture thoughts. That's when we'll do that, go over news events that have occurred over the last week. But I'm also probably going to do quarterly calls for all the investments that really matter. Even if I miss the call, I'm going to want to go back and listen to it, and maybe I'll end up just uploading that and sharing it with you guys as well, because I want your input too. On these calls, I don't know everything about the companies. But we have a huge list of people here that do, right? And so I want to listen to you guys, especially the ones of you that have done well and made money individually on other investments that you did not get from me, and where I did not listen to you and you tried to tell me. I want to spend more time listening to you guys too, and highlighting you, so that we can do this together, because in the end, that kind of is what it is, right? We can't borrow each other's conviction. We can't borrow each other's choices without them being our own. But what we can do is work hard to learn from each other and identify who's got the track record that matters, right? And I'm hoping that I'll be at the top of that list. But that might not always be the case, and some of you guys might be better, and that's where we have to learn from each other, and you have to hold me accountable. All right, let's keep going. So Metaplanet, I think it's no small thing, and maybe this is a sign of what there's people that probably know what's happening with MSCI by the 15th, right? So maybe it isn't the doom and gloom I thought it was, even though I'm glad I did sell out of some of that stuff and then buy back in because I got lower prices, because they really did get beat up even in the last month, right? But maybe it's not that big of a deal. Maybe there are people that are starting to realize that Bitcoin's going to go up this year, and or they know something about the MSCI potential delisting and what they're going to say for their messaging, and maybe it's a nothing burger. And so Metaplanet, though, being up over 15.56% in the Japanese market, I think is no small thing. I want to show you the chart here real quick, because again, we will still look at charts, but it just isn't going to be the primary focus of everything, right? And so if you look here, we've done a good job kind of holding the line, and really you could almost say that the line was higher. It was up here, then we broke down, but we had a good measured move. This stock dropped what, 80, almost 83%. It says 82% here, and I might need to drag this a little bit lower. But that's a huge drop. And the fundamentals, here's what the fundamentals of Metaplanet, and then we'll move on to the rest of Bitcoin. Metaplanet has the ability to be able to trade in and out, and I shouldn't say that, manage their money, and again, their hotel business, and take the revenue from that, and now their preferred offering, and be able to acquire Bitcoin without share dilution. And I think that's a powerful thing that people don't understand. And then if they get a multiplier, like they get to a 1.3 again on the MNAV, something like that, or maybe they even go to 2 because Bitcoin just does really well this next year. I don't know. but they then can dilute shareholders while buying insane amounts of Bitcoin. And you could get the multiplier of the preferreds, their business revenues, and also what can happen if they get that multiplier back with the MNAV. And it could just be a really, really sweet thing along with Bitcoin's appreciation. So I think now is the time to be interested in treasury companies. MicroStrategy is another good version of that. I know a lot of people got into the Smarter Web Company. If I got you into that, I'm fucking sorry. But I am not putting money into that. I just can't right now and I haven't done that in a long time, and it's suffered greatly, and it's probably going to bounce now, but I can't invest in the UK right now. I just can't do it. There's just no way. I don't trust the UK at all. All right, let me look at chat. Jordy and Anthony Pompliano, most recent podcast was an eye-opener. We all need to use AI more. Dude, I've been using it so much lately to do all of my research. And here's what I know now. Oh my God, if I would have focused on using Grok, well, Grok wasn't that good yet. I can't really say that. But if Grok would have been great at the beginning of 2025, and I could have used that for all of my research, holy shit, would it have been so much better than it's ever been. I am learning so much about companies and about the world because of Grok. It is becoming so smart. And unlike ChatGPT, which can take a day or two to even understand what's happening in the news, it knows right away because it's got what I believe to be the best social media platform on the planet for news-related information. X. I mean, literally every download, every category, almost across the entirety of the earth, X is the place to go. And so you should really use Grok. You need to use Grok. And Jordy Visser is brilliant. Anthony Pompliano is a great dude. Again, he's an example of somebody who's failed multiple times. I can't remember if it was Voyager he was a part of. There's so many different companies, though, that he promoted or was a part of that just got crushed in the last cycle. Did he let it bother him? Fuck no. He moved ahead, and he keeps on going, and he's getting better and better and better, and then he's finding people like Jordy Visser. It's fucking awesome. George, can we look at a Tesla chart? I still have some June 2026 calls that I need to make use of. Man, I love Tesla. Tesla just had good numbers coming out of December in China and other parts of the world. Parts of Europe were really surprising. I don't know. Like, again, I think this is still exactly what's happening. I think we're going to go this year. I think we could make it to 900 for Tesla. I think it can double. That's how good I feel about it. But I don't know that I would be hanging in June calls, especially if you made a lot of money. Now, I do think that the market, again, we just have risks in front of us in January, dude. And that's leverage. So you do you. It could end up going up and just rocketing up. But I want you to just remember here, too, that we were down at 214 in April. And we got all the way up to 500 in December. Okay, so we more than doubled. That is a really good return. Maybe if we have a good day today, tomorrow, you take that profit and fucking get rid of it. Hopefully it's profit. It should be. What else we got? Gemini Night, good to have a fresh stream in the fresh new year. Yes, sir, it is. And again, so what I'm going to try and do is provide better content. I'm going to try and have better content. I want to do some standalone research and do some videos based on that standalone research. Some stuff I started to do when I started the channel. I want to keep the news thing to once a week. And then I want to help with quarterly calls and have us talk as a collective about quarterly calls and the companies that we're dealing with so that we're not missing things, because it's not just my eyes on it and Grok's eyes on it. It's you as well and all the knowledge you guys carry forth. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. These streams are gonna be fun. Central said, I think MSCI is priced in for MSTR. If they remain included, it could be a big catalyst. I agree. I think maybe people know that. Somebody knows that. You got to know. There's people that know what they're going to say, right? And they're telling all their friends. Gemini Knight, I am big on ETH and BTBT this year. Great AI HPC business plus ETH treasury. That's actually an interesting play, Gemini. Not going to lie. Because they're the one that are kind of like the Ethereum treasury and AI, right? I don't know enough about that specific company, But that is a fascinating thought because I do think Ethereum could have a really good year. Again, BMNR is up 18% in 2 business days. Not even including what it could do today. I do think we have a gap to close, though. So, again, just be prepared. Be prepared for some kind of downside or sideways chop before going even higher. But if Iran is free, guys, oh my God, I think we're going so much higher. So much higher. And if gold and silver are going up, guys, I want you to look at something. This is what you need to understand. And again, guys, I crush macro, okay? I crush it. Not well enough to understand the metals. Lynn Alden beat me on that. And we could still go up, right? But this is a rising wedge. It is a bad pattern. And I think the more likely thing is that we chop over here and then break down and then maybe try and grind. And then people start to go, why the fuck am I in gold and silver when America is doing great? So I think that that's one possible scenario, that it just doesn't even go up. It chops here, starts to break down, and then gold is done. And it's all about Bitcoin and the stock market, right? I think that's one possible thing. The world is going pretty good. That's the direction we're headed in. The other scenario is that this breaks higher. And what I want you to think of, if that happens, think of China and Russia failing. Think about them failing, because that's the signal I think we're going to get if gold and silver are going higher. It's not going to be people are worried about what's happening with the United States. No, it's not going to be that, right? People are learning very quickly that our military cannot be fucked with, and that we will be the leaders in digital Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and tokenization. We will be the leaders on AI and robotics. We are. And guys, in space, we're number one. We're number one in space. That is the one thing we have holding on right now. And we need to catch up on energy, but we have the capability of doing that. And what we did with Venezuela is getting us even closer to that. But if gold and silver are going up, I think it's showing that we're going to see Russia collapse and that we could see China collapse. I've been saying for a long time that China would collapse, but I've never given dates. I think China collapses this year if America doesn't have a big enough bump to be able to pull them higher. They have structural issues with their economy that are devastating. The list is a mile long. I probably needed to do a new China video talking about how much worse things have gotten than the last time that I talked about it. But so if you see that, just realize this. When China or Russia do fail, and maybe both of them, because the axis of evil is gone. Let's just look at that, okay? Syria, gone, broken. Iran, getting ready to collapse. Venezuela, collapsed. Broken, getting fixed right now. Should be easy. Cuba, probably going to collapse. There is Russia, China, and North Korea, and Russia is in such bad shape. Imminent collapse. And if we get Iran and Venezuela under some kind of Israel-U.S. control to where we're helping facilitate their security is probably a better way to put that. And we're tied in with the rebuilding of the government, and we're a focal point in that. We're going to see the discount for Chinese oil plummet. They get oil from Venezuela and from Russia, and from Venezuela for nothing, just for giving them arms, which did not work. None of the fucking military equipment provided by Russia and China and Venezuela. Maduro used to say, I am the best, strongest, most powerful military in South America. And it didn't help at all. So China has to know that militarily they're not in great shape right now. I mean, they don't have to know because there's the dictator fallacy. Xi might have no clue. He might just be that stupid and blind, right? And his own arrogance and the yes men that he surrounded himself with because the other people die, right? That's the love of dictators. But if I don't even know where I was going with that. I think I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so I think that I think that China and Russia can fail. I think China is more likely to invade Russia. They're already kind of doing that in the north. There's a lot of resources right there, and Russia's just almost done. So why even fuck with Taiwan? You could just keep telling people that's going to be in the future, and then you could still gain some market share in Russia when it collapses. I think that's the likelihood. But if we start to see gold and silver going up a lot, I think it's either like China is crazy enough to invade Taiwan, or China is failing. So that's something I just wanted to get out there. Can you share with us your prompt grok effectively to get the best info on stocks? Oh, dude, it's just actual talking. It's just actual talking. You can ask whatever question you have about a stock and then get an answer to it. And then you can jot that information down, and then you can look at more stuff because there's so many good videos and there's so much good content on X. Or you can just click the little grok in the top right corner. If somebody's telling you something, you just click on that and it will summarize, and it'll tell you if it thinks they're full of shit, or it'll tell you, summarize their argument, and then it'll tell you, I think it's right and here's why, or I think it's wrong and here's why, or both. And you can use that as a foundation to ask more questions, jot those things down, and you can just get a wealth of information from Grok. Grok, actually, people were using XAI and these other Chat GPT and all these other AIs to do investing, and Grok is winning. So, like, if you're not using it, you're at such a detriment to yourself, and it's literally spoken language. You can talk to Grok just like you would talk to anyone. So if you need to, jot down your thoughts first, or just have a conversation with her. And if you do that, her or him, whatever you got it set to, if you do that, you will constantly learn as you communicate with it. And it's fascinating. I can't wait to get my Optimus next year. It's going to be insane. Like, if you're not using Grok, you've got to. I read that both tickers for Metaplanet will remain. They won't convert to MTPLF to the new ticker. So there's some things with the Metaplanet tickers. So there's the new one, the MPJPY. That one is operating at a premium because I think there's more likely to get more flows into it. There's talk about whether or not you own the underlying with this, but I don't think there's any kind of risk with anything like that. And so I'm not even paying attention to it. But this is the one that's got the low fees. So I think this is just a cleaner solution. You don't have to pay $50 for every batch that you buy. And in some cases, you can only buy it in $10,000 lots or 20, depending on your broker. But I think that this one is nice because you don't have the fee. Volumes, though, are lower. So the volume was 2 million sold on Friday for that one. Oh, wait, no, that is MTPLF. That is MTPLF. It's not showing me the other one. Let me put that one in here, even though I had it. MPJPY. There we go. So that one had 2 million in volume. That's the high volume one. Here's the new one. It's operating at a premium, but I think it'll continue to do that because I think it's going to get more inflows. There's no history here, obviously, because it's just such a short time frame. It only went live this last month. But you can see volume here is lower. It's only like 800 million instead of 800,000 instead of 2 million shares being traded. But that's changing very quickly. So I prefer this one. This is the one I bought more recently. I've got over $100,000 in it. I don't know exactly where I'm at. Again, I'll update the portfolio and share that. But I prefer this one because of the reduction in fees. But if you already own it and spend all the money on the fees, I would just hold MTPLF too. If the liquidity changes a lot, you can always ask me later. But if Metaplanet ends up having, or MTPLF has way less volume and everybody's in MPJPY, you always want volume. You always want liquidity. You always want that available to you because otherwise you can get crazy price swings if something fucking nuts happens. So I would opt then at that point to maybe switch over, but you could just stay in it. Sailor's heading towards 7,000 Bitcoin easy. I do think you're right. I think you're right. We're going to stick around today for a while, too. We barely even went through anything. Jelly says, we've been ping-ponging between two trend lines since the start of 2024. If we keep that up, another test of the channel mid-level would bring us to 140,000 at least. So what he's saying is going all the way back into like 2018, whatever shit, right? Like way back in the day, 2017 top. If you look here, you can see how we got up to the midline, but we couldn't break above it. Normally we break above it, and you could say this top line should have diminishing returns and have a slant on it. I would agree with that. I think it should actually probably like top out over here in the 285,000 range. But I think we could hit like 285,000. I know that sounds fucking nuts, but I think Tom Lee was right. It might not be January when we get to 200,000 Bitcoin, but I think Bitcoin's going to scream higher and he's going to look like a genius again. And it doesn't have to happen right away at the beginning of the year. It could be later in the year. But I think the whole market is going risk on. And what they're saying here is that just in 2027, we could get up to the 150, 140,000 range just if we do another test to this midline. I think we're going to break above it and make even more money. And I think we'll be so happy about the view we're sitting in front of at that time that we'll understand why it's still a good value at 145,000. I could be wrong about that, but we'll see. Kirby said, I see you follow Peter DiCarlo. Have you seen his posts about his fear of a possible drop to 70,000? No, I haven't. I mean, that could still happen. Again, we have a CME gap to 88. I don't think that's going to happen, but if we have a Supreme Court decision that's bad for tariffs, if we have the MSCI or the delisting occur, and that's bad for MicroStrategy, that could cause problem. I mean, we got stuff over the next 30 days, guys. There's always stuff, though. There's a reason they call it a wall of worry. But I think this is really true, and I think that we stand a really good chance of going even higher this next year. That's what I'm focused on. But again, I'm not just focused on Bitcoin. I own Tesla, so I got the AI robotics play. I've got Iron and Cypher and some CleanSpark. So I've got the hyperscaler build out energy type play. I've got Enphase and EOS, EOSE energy company. I've got about, I think it's 80,000 in EOS. Then I've got like 220 in Enphase. So I've got positioning in the energy sector, which I feel really good about. I've got some Bitcoin treasuries in the names of ASST and MTPLF. And then I've got ARC Genomics still, which I feel good about. That's one of my only leverage plays are options that go all the way out into 2027 on that. And then TLT is a hedge. And I'm probably forgetting some other stuff. But yeah, so I'm feeling better diversified. And again, I think Enphase also acts as real estate because I think it's going to be very tied into that market. And then I've got the defense sector stuff, the RCAT, the Kraken, and the ONDS. So I'm feeling better diversified where I'm not just in one, like really hyper focused on one play, which is great. Holy Mother, Chad put. So in this tool that they're looking at, and I think it says it down over there, it's just showing what a top normally looks like in Bitcoin. And this is from Into the Cryptoverse, which is funny. I don't actually like Cohen a lot right now. But again, you can see what a top normally looks like. There's so many indicators that do this. There's 30 different indicators that are on the site that I have pulled up somewhere on here, right here, on CoinGlass. 0 of them have triggered for a market top. And so I'd say it's safe to say that one has not happened. Bitcoin whales just turned very bullish. Addresses holding 1,000 BTC have flipped from net selling to heavy accumulation. Big money is stepping back in, and 2026 is shaping up to be a major year for crypto. I do agree with that. I think there's been massive inflows after some very strong outflows. And again, this is just another view showing how this is what happened, right? These were the tops in 2021, 2022. And then we tested that again as resistance here in 2024 a couple of times. We finally broke above it. We back tested against it. We went down again. We established a higher low, which I think will stick. But even if we went down here, even if we went down lower, that would be okay too. It wouldn't be the end of the world. We could still have a megaphone pattern and go up and be in the 150 plus and even go more parabolic if the right conditions are there at that time, which we'll have to evaluate when the time comes. I told you we were going to break higher here. That's exactly what's happened if you look at the bottom right-hand corner. I don't think there's a lot of people that were confidently telling you that we were going to break higher. I do believe the Bitcoin to gold ratio is going to get even better than it has. In this image that I put up here, it was 2093. Right now it is 21. So it went even higher and then retraced a little bit. But this is a beautiful bottom as well. You can see resistance, broke above, resistance, broke above, support, didn't even get to it, got to this other line of support, and then sport again, right? This is a very beautiful chart. This is an arc genomic type chart where you know it's going up. This is a Palantir chart where you know it's going up. This is a Robinhood. This is a SoFi. This is every chart that I've ever wanted to see right here. And could it have gone lower, and could it still go lower? Sure. Anything can happen. Odds are it won't. Ashana 1980, morning Jesse and MTM's crew. Love your portfolio update and transparency as always. I had a similar story as yours, but love your 2026 focus and thesis going forward. Thanks, man. I think we have to learn from our mistakes, right? We have to learn from our mistakes. If we don't do that, what are we doing? Like, why are we even here? And again, there's just every metric says that we're at a bottom and that we're getting ready to go higher. So believe who you want to believe in this. I'm not looking at this. Even this Bitcoin Adam and Eve pattern looks great for the short term, right? And so I believe in Bitcoin. I'm in a position where I can hold it for a long period of time. And I'm going to do that. And if bad things happen, I'll leverage into that because I won't be heavy in leverage right now. I've got less than 15%. So if that 15% went to zero, which I don't think it's going to, I think my TLT hedge is going to be good. I think I have 170K in that, maybe more now. I don't know when that kicks in, but I still feel confident about it. Maybe looking at leaps going out to 2028. But, and just as insurance, I wouldn't make that more than 5-10% max portfolio. And I won't be selling out of other things really quickly to get it. But it also, ARC Genomics, again, this chart, I just love it so much. I want to look at it real quickly here before I move on. This is just such a nice looking chart. If you guys want other charts to be looked up, let me know. But we're still down. We went down in ARCG, guys. This thing was down that far. 85%. And not just over a year or 2 years, but 3 and 4. Right now, how many days has it been since we were at the top of this chart? Right about here. 1,820 days since we really hit the peak. I don't know, that might need to be a little more over here. It's kind of hard to see. Let's say 1785. That is such a huge time frame. And the best part about this chart is this. It is the peak, broke above, found support clearly, went to the fucking moon, dropped down like a fucking rock, down almost 85%. Broke through support temporarily, only to rip higher, and then now back tests the 200-day moving average, weekly moving average, and continually finds support on it here and all through here, the majority of the time, in what looks like an inverse head and shoulders that could go significantly higher, even at a modest view, right? It gets us right up to this other fib. This looks like a thing of beauty in my mind. I love ARCG, and so I'm still very happy to have this be some of the only leverage that I have right now in Marcus. I feel like that one's going to turn really well, and I feel like this year is going to be a year of redemption. But I'm not setting goals for premature targets or any other bullshit. We're going back to what got me here, and that was the fundamentals and being really good at what I do. Except this year, we're going to apply that tenfold. Anyway, let's keep going. Jesse, sorry I missed this. Did you sell last week just to get some cash? No. I was buying. And I didn't really buy too much last week. And I might have missed some trades. Honestly, guys, I've been so bad. I was burnt out at the end of the year, man. I just had been shit on so much, both from my own actions and then just how horrific people can be online. Space theme, that's another one I didn't pay enough attention to. I've got buddies in that space that just have crushed it and done really well. A lot of Amit's buddies have done good, actually. But yeah. So I wasn't getting cash. I was super bullish last week. Check out Kratos. Yeah, that's another one I need to look at. I need to go through one of my primary objectives, I think, over the next week plus is going through every defense company. Like, I want to go through a lot of them. I want to figure out which ones I like the best, and I want to figure out who the smartest people are on social media. So if you guys have themes like that, whether it's energy, whether it's defense, or space themed or AI themed or whatever it is, if you have people that I'm missing that are really brilliant, never hesitate to throw that out in chat or remind me in a post, because I want to follow the best of the best. You guys, and the way that we communicate with each other is going to be the way that we can do that. So, EOS, yeah, you said, so well positioned in 2026, revenue likely to 4x. EOS is interesting. Yes, you're right. They are, and that's why we're going to have to do some of these standalone ones. Now, I want to show something real quick. I actually really like Enphase, and I've talked about this a bunch of times. That chart, oh my God, guys, this is another chart I absolutely love. Virtually no downside risk. It's a play on the real estate sector opening up again, which I think is very clearly happening. Feel very, very good about that from a macro thesis standpoint. You already had look at how fucking far off this thing is, dude. So you had the massive overvaluation that was clearly an overvaluation because you had this rising, broadening wedge that probably got up to RSI levels that are fucking ridiculous. Let me see over here. What did they get to? Well, I mean, this one you could already see the bearish divergence, but I mean, the RSI was already 91 on this thing, and then it could get up to 89, and then it just couldn't get up at all anymore when it finally peaked. It was down at 70, which is just entering oversold territory. But you had to be an idiot to be holding this shit in the 300 levels. But right now, we have overshot what was trying to be support and then turned it into resistance the whole fucking time since the middle of this last year. And we're right now getting ready to break up. And this is only a 4.42 billion market cap. There are gaps going all the way up into the 220 range, 544% higher than we are right now. And this company is doing the right things. And what do I mean by that? If you look down here, revenue, they got crushed because rates were raised at one of the most aggressive rates in history. They're an energy company. They're tied into solar. So they've got Tesla competition, and then what happened? Trump got elected. And then removed solar incentives. Now, there's still other stuff. I need to do a big write-up on this one. This will probably be one of my primary focuses because I think it's such a great risk to reward. But I want to do a write-up on this one showing what Enphase is capable of. I didn't know. Somebody told me that James Invest Answers had sold out of this recently. I think that is just from pain and suffering. Hey, what's up, JT? Love you, man. But I want to point this out at a time where everything was against them. This is where rates were raised at the most aggressive rate in history. They went from 5.2 million inverters, microinverters being shipped down to 1.382 several quarters later, a year later. But what did they manage to do? They managed to increase their United States revenue even without those incentives. They managed to grow their solar deployed at a time where Tesla isn't even acknowledging their solar side of the business, and they're not recording any of the revenues or any of that stuff separately. But their revenue went up, their net income went up, cash flows are down, but there's a reason for that. They bought back shares, so they're doing share buybacks. They've lowered their debt positioning. They've got a good bond position. They've been lowering their overall operating expenses. At a really tough time, they've got a P/E ratio of 23.38 for an energy company, but their forward is only 16.69. And I think that what the government is doing here with their energy incentives are going to end up benefiting these guys. I think that lower rates and the real estate sector taking off, which Scott Bessent's told us he's going to do it. Trump's told us he's going to do it. I'd say he's going to do it. And if he does that, the real estate sector takes off, and then you'll start to see the loan programs that these guys thrive off of. Even if we get another % lower in what the going rate is, that would be helpful to these guys because they can start doing financing deals where they say, hey, you building a new house or you just got a house? If you want to, we can help install solar on it, and you sign a solar contract and you'll be able to get this thing installed and immediately start saving money versus what your energy expenses are. How huge would that be? With all the concerns we have about AI energy consuming all the energy and increasing everybody's prices, how good would it be to have lower rates coming and a company like Enphase that's installing solar equipment to be able to do these types of loans or something of that nature, that just the benefits of the companies that can do that you will. I think the sector could really explode. And I think if you're not doing options and you don't have to worry about timing, and it's already down over 90%. It was down almost 93% from its high. It's currently down 89%, almost 90 from its high that was like 3 years ago. So you do you, but to me, this feels like a good one. I like this right now. I feel like there's very little downside risk. And EOS is, I think that's a great company too, and it's actually going to do really good. That's the one you were commenting on. But I did just want to point this out. I mean, this stock was at 63 cents, and then it got all the way up to almost $20. So I wish I would have listened to Jeff Lutz over here. Jeff, I do apologize. I need to listen to you more, bro. Or you need to be louder, one of the two. If I'm going to blame it on you, it's going to be not being vocal enough. Now, I think you're pretty vocal. But that's such a great investment. And again, this looks a lot like a bull flag to me. So I do think it's going higher. Could it get up to 31? I think it's possible. I think it's really possible this next year that it could do that because of its revenue growth that you were talking about. And so again, this is the energy portion. And I'm going to try and get it too, since I'm only doing these live, this kind of thing, this live feed once a day or once a week. I want to edit the videos better. That's something else I need to do with 2026. I might real quickly, I see Jensen Huang on Fox Business, so I might have to jump to that real quick here. EOS though, again, just here's what I wanted to show you real fast. The estimates, if you look at show extended, I guess you only get out this far, but look at the estimate jump that we're looking at for this company just heading into Q4 of 2025 into Q1 of 2026. And the growth is just only supposed to expand. So it's really great. Let me see here real quick. Do I even have YouTube TV on here? I don't think I do. No, that's just Oh, no, I do. Okay. 1 second here real quick, guys. I need to see what this is talking about. Palantir. We got to see this. So this is just too timely to what we were talking about. So we just talked about energy. Let's listen to Palantir talk about this, and then also comments from Jensen Huang talking about companies like Palantir. This is a good one for today.
Is up after dipping slightly in the first few trading days of the new year, but it is up sharply over the last year as investors look to fourth quarter earnings, which will be out on February 2nd. Palantir is up better than 110% over the last year. It is up better than 24% in the past 6 months. Had a little bit of a dip in November because of valuation concerns and continues its bullish chart. My next guest is here to make the case for AI optimism heading into the new year. Joining me now is the Chief Technology Officer of Palantir, Shyam Sankar. Shyam, great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be back with you. Thank you.
And of course, Fox News Media is currently working with Palantir to build a suite of custom AI tools. And I know you've talked a lot about the transition to the factory floor as a result of AI. I want to get your take on how AI is changing the business, whether it's government contracts in terms of defense products or the factory floor. What's your take?
Well, there is a historic opportunity for America to underwrite the next decade of our prosperity with AI. I think there is a doomerism narrative that's coming out of both Silicon Valley and Wall Street, where there's a totally different reality that's happening on the factory floor, in the ICU nursing centers, with our submarine-based industrial suppliers, that's leading to job growth. This is about empowering the American worker, giving the American worker superpowers that allows us to underwrite our reindustrialization as a nation. That's what's happening every day out there right now. And I think the market has largely figured out that Palantir is the leading company, if not.
Sankar is badass, their chief technology officer. He's just, again, this was just such a no-brainer investment. I wish I should have listened to Amit a lot more. He was the diehard. His career was really launched from this company, and then also Robinhood. Robinhood was something that I was even in before Amit. And then what's his name? Oh, God, I can't remember his name for some reason. He's from Europe. He's friends with Amit. He's the one that got us both into it. And he just had such a good thesis behind it. There's a number of people like that, guys, where we just need to listen to them and understand what they're talking about. If there's new things, we need to work collectively. And I'm going to try and write some script probably. Arnie, thank you, Arnie. Thank you. I knew one of you guys would get it. Thanks, man. Arnie's a badass. He's the one that got me into Hood. And then also Amit ended up coming into it too because he was kind of following, because we were all talking about Palantir at the time. And so Arnie was the guy who really got us into it. And he had just a brilliant thesis, walked through it, great, displayed it all to us. But look at Amit though. Amit is smart at realizing great talent. He knew Alex was brilliant, and he was kind of cutting his teeth with Palantir. And then he also knew that Robinhood was going to be an amazing company. And then he ends up, being a part of that as well. So he's a very smart guy at maybe not coming up with a theme, but at least getting there and acknowledging other people that are better than him, or that are first to it. And he was first to Palantir, definitely one of the diehards, along with Tom Nash.
The only company that is building and implementing AI aligned with American values, AI that's supporting American prosperity.
And of course, President Trump has been reiterating the need to get supply chains back to America. You've been sounding the alarm as well on the need for America to, quote, reindustrialize, to deter World War III. Now, Palantir obviously has major government partnerships. You're working with the U.S. Army, Air Force, Space Force, Navy. That Navy partnership, the most recent, accelerating shipbuilding through a $448 million investment called Ship OS. But Sham, I want to get your take on how AI has changed the business here. Walk us through it.
Well,
I want to see how involved they were.
If you think about our work in defense, most people think about us in the work we do on the factory floor, helping in planning missions and operations. But the other element of deterrence is really, in the foxhole, the other element of deterrence is really the factory floor. It's how do we make our weapons, our platforms? Can we make them at a rate that actually deters our adversaries? And the opportunity has been with Ship OS, you see rolling out integrated planning, supply chain solutions that reduce the dwell time. You can make more parts.
Hey guys, if there's any defense companies that you think I should be paying attention to that have a smaller scope but have big contracts coming in the future that aren't like ONDS, Red Cat, or Kraken, if you could tell me, and again, Anduril and Palantir and some of the others that everybody knows about, if there's other ones that you think I should be listening to, please jot down what it is and then who I should be listening to, or tag me again in posts on X. Because I really want to, Anduril's just going to be such a no-brainer. And in Kraken, you get some of that exposure. I actually think Kraken is a really great company, even though the valuation, again, has went up a lot. Defense stocks have done good, too. People that were smart and sector-focused on the sectors that really mattered, like defense, AI, and again, some of these Bitcoin treasuries did really well. And there's areas where you could have made a lot of money, or just, again, YOLOing into quantum, which I still don't love. Maybe somebody can change my mind on that, and other sectors like gold and silver. There are a lot of people that made money this last year. I wish I would have been one of them.
More quickly, you can get more subs in the water. One of our suppliers was actually able to add a third shift. They were able to hire more American workers by using AI to accelerate how they do production planning and manage the supply chain. That meant they could more effectively and profitably hire American workers to produce more equipment. I think this underwrites the basis of it. You see this with Panasonic Energy. They produce electric vehicle batteries, and the training time has been reduced from 3 years to 3 months for casino workers who are transitioning into this highly skilled role because of AI. So I think having the right focus on how we use AI to drive American prosperity and the competitiveness of our companies is how we're going to reindustrialize.
Yeah, it's
okay. I'll probably watch this later. It doesn't seem like we're getting a decent view, but it's not enough for me to want to stick around and watch the whole thing. I'll probably just get the cliff notes and then talk about them. Again, there's a ton of different charts that tell you that we've reached a bottom in Bitcoin, most likely, and that there's divergences to the upside or whatever. And that Bitcoin did really bad when silver and gold did well, and the stock markets did okay, but Bitcoin and Ethereum did horrible. And the others did much worse. If you were in shitcoins, ouch. But again, things like to rotate. And so I think it's important that you understand that. And I do believe that M2 money supply is still expanding. There's some economic data coming out at 9 o'clock. It's almost 8 right now. But there's some things that are already came out, right? Like we got inflation in Turkey. That was lower than expected. And let's see here. We got Singapore. Is that Singapore or Indonesia? I think core inflation lower than consensus, but higher than forecast, but really reasonable numbers. So I think inflation isn't going to be an issue. At 9, we get ISM manufacturing data for December. This is going to be very interesting. If this, for any reason, starts to show expansion, like last time we had really bad numbers for manufacturing prices. So things were high, which sucks, right? It gives people the inflation narrative. When you have weak manufacturing for employment, new orders, and PMI, like we saw here, but then really high pricing power, that sucks. So what we want to see is a switch of that. We want to see prices coming down. We want to see strength in employment and new orders and PMI. I think that's what we'll see at 9 o'clock, and I'm really excited about that. And then next, over the next several days, it looks like tomorrow we'll get, it's so hard to read all of this, just the way this is laid out. We'll get some more data. It's a decent amount, but I think most of it's going to be coming later. And I'm going to switch something real quick here. I'll hand select these later, but for now, I'm just going to go to United States because I just can't deal with all this bullshit. Yeah, there we go. So we'll get all the ISM data today at 9, and then not much else that matters. Total vehicle sales might be interesting, actually, but I don't know when that's coming out. Tuesday, though, we've got LMI, Logistic Managers Index. That's a good one to follow. We've got some S&P stuff. Nothing too crazy. Wednesday is going to be the big day. We'll get ADP employment data, services, JOLTS, factory orders, ISM, job quits. There's just a lot of data and reporting coming out Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday will always be fun, usually. But I see M2 money supply still expanding. I see it expanding in countries like Great Britain. I don't know. I had a chart earlier where they're spending tons of money. I think China's spending tons of money. And that's why you're seeing people flee to metals, is because of just the insane amount of money printing going on, both in China and in Russia right now, 2 decent-sized economies, and other parts of the world where they've just really mismanaged their funds, or for whatever reason, they've destroyed their economies. Sailor was talking about green dots and orange dots. I don't know if we got that number, guys. I will look at AVAV. I did write that down. Thank you for that. If you have any more information about it, please throw it out. Let's see here. Long term, our LTH are selling like crazy. This take is wrong. I've said it several times. I'll say it again. Since the movement from the 900,000. Oh, yeah, this is the broken thing. So let's skip that. We're going to jump out of that. We're going to jump over into geopolitics because that's been a huge theme. I do want to cover some more macro stuff here. We'll look at other charts too. But and again, I'm going to start. I don't know that I'll do it today. I'm going to get the portfolio update today. Another thing I'm focusing on in 2026 is my health. So I got to go to the gym, and I've got stuff to do with the wife. But I do want to end up editing videos too, and getting it to where I have different themes, and you guys can watch smaller chunks of information. And then again, doing standalone about specific companies and sectors. Those things are going to happen a lot in 2026. Anna Paulina Luna said, based Rubio, I don't care what the UN says. I want you to hear this because we are done. We are done with the UN. We're probably going to withdraw from it soon enough. And then other countries like Japan and others will follow with us. But we just aren't taking shit anymore, and that's a stance that's going to be across all of government.
No, you're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source, and the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about 1.5 years ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's just absolutely badass. Absolutely badass. If you didn't watch the full speech after the collapse of Venezuela and taking Maduro, if you didn't watch Trump's full speech and also Pete Hegseth and the general that were there, you need to, because you need to understand just how confident we are in our position. And I wanted to show, again, not too much with a lot of the political stuff, but This is in Mashhad in Iran. And this is a young girl giving a peace sign. They say it's a girl. Almost looks like a dude to me. But whatever. We'll just assume they're right. But giving a peace sign while getting taken away by the IRGC, which is probably a death sentence or at the very least torture. These people are fighting for their lives, and they're going to win, and it's going to be beautiful. This is protesters have taken control of Hamadan, a holy city, just 150 kilometers from Tehran, is now largely under their control. Like these are real. This is very real. I wanted to show this. Just again, Venezuela. Oh, I did actually. That was in the intro video, so we're good there. Let's move down. Maduro. This is the kind of guy Maduro is. This isn't even AI. I wish it was. It's at the height of Venezuela's food crisis, when 40% of the population suffered from malnourishment and many resorted to eating their pets and grass. Maduro traveled to Istanbul and spent $400,000 smoking cigars and dining on Salt Bay's steak work. So just remember this when you hear people complaining about what's happening. They're fucking idiots. And none of what they say matters. What matters is the Venezuelan people. That's what matters. And this is what Maduro did to people who disagreed with him. Right here. I won't subject you to all of this. He's saying hi to them. You can see their day's not going well. And this right here is cool. This is where my wife was born, actually. This is Panama, Panama City, a place I love. This is Venezuelans in Panama celebrating what happened with Maduro. God, I miss Panama. This is just fucking beautiful to see. This is right here. The protesters trick these guys, lock them up over here, and then they attack. And they all attack. So the protesters, they're winning too, guys. They're winning. You gotta realize that. And there's something else I wanted to talk about. In Venezuela, something that maybe isn't reported enough. The U.S. has struck a facility near the port city where they assembled Iranian drones. And that basically these have been destroyed and are under our control. And there were a lot of things that were hit that night. And I think it's important to realize the ramifications of it. Also, the protests, the organic protests that have all these beautifully printed signs that appeared all around the United States and around the world around the same time. Michael said, realize that the Chinese Communist Party and its had agitator boots on the ground across the U.S. cities within hours of the Maduro operation. They run through billionaire Navel Singham, a CCP agent, the broad U.S.-based CCP networks for crime repression, political warfare must be smashed. And again, just showing this was all over the place. Look at these perfectly printed, well-constructed, support communism, hands off Venezuela protest. And just think about how quickly they mobilized and got to work. It's kind of shocking. 1 second here real quick. Sorry, my daughter. I just had to say goodbye to her. I put Trump can easily incentivize companies to get the oil flowing again. He actually said he was going to do this. So there's some people that are saying, hey, this isn't going to be good. There's CapEx risks. This is a Bloomberg article. Nobody is willing to invest in Venezuela. That's complete bullshit. Trump already told us that he's got the companies that are going to do it and that the government is going to help incentivize them to be able to do it. So that's a lie. Also, Chinese JY-27 anti-stealth radar, the stealth killer, they called it, that was paralyzed by the U.S. for 3 hours. So these things were trash. This was in Venezuela. This is a Chinese video talking about how these things can basically find stealth aircraft, right? Find stealth aircraft. These didn't trigger anything. None of the Russian and Chinese equipment really worked at all. And so this is just another sign. We saw that happen with India, Pakistan. We see that happening with Thailand, Cambodia. We've seen this all over the world, and in Iran too, right? Among other countries that have fallen and had issues recently. So their equipment doesn't work, and we've got better military equipment than they have. I think that's a pretty important thing. I wanted to show this too. This is a very short video. It shows Iran before the revolution. You guys need to understand, we need to bring this back. We will do massive things to stabilize the Middle East. It will be a huge net positive for America, and the stock market will lose its fucking mind if we take Iran and start helping them. The people, 2/3 of the people don't even identify as Muslim. These people want to be free. They want to turn themselves into Saudi Arabia or Dubai, but more liberal than that, in like a good way, right? Like you don't have to wear a veil and you can live your life, not in some woke blue-haired bitch way. But look at this. Look at the beauty of Iran. They were so progressive. It's just sad to see what happened. And this is a place we've got to fix because they know the mistake and they need to tell the world this mistake before the world makes the mistake. Because what happened to Iran is what's happening to Europe and Canada and what's happening to the United States right now. Okay, this is the stuff we're fighting.
A country brimming with energy, exploding with construction and development, a dynamic state with a thriving capital.
Don't worry, the music's cheesy, but I'll speed it up. But this is really good. You got to see this.
Iran today. Women even playing soccer. Symbol of a radical revolution against deep-rooted taboos, habits, prejudices.
Look at what this country used to be like. It's so sad. We helped create this.
Endeavor.
We helped destroy them. Look at that. Mini skirt.
In an age when so many monarchies perished and Mohammed Reza Shah had ascended to the throne, Iran still adhered.
This is like the UK and the United States combined. These people were as educated, as Western as anybody in those places. And they destroyed themselves by embracing socialism and Islamism. They thought the mullahs were going to save them. And it's so crazy to watch the world doing it again. You can see it. You can see the Muslims, the Islamic radicals, the terrorists, that group merging with the communists and the liberals. And it's the same thing that happened to Iran. And so we have to free these guys so the world can find the truth before we let the West destroy itself.
Here's to her constitutionalist traditions. With the oldest constitution in all Asia, she still remains a monarchy. Symbol of the new role of women in Muslim
Look at how beautiful it
is
was.
the active participation of Farah and Shah Banu in representing the dynasty, the state. She's in charge of whole sectors of national life, particularly in the fields of social activities, art, and culture. The number of children in primary schools has risen from 1.7 million to 4.1 million. In high schools, from 326,000 to almost 2 million. Of 152,000 students in higher education, about 1/3 are women. In 1975, at Tehran University, 44% of all graduates in medicine were women, 47% in pharmacology as well as in social sciences, and 55% in education. Oil, the basis of Iran's wealth. The oil boom offering new opportunities, new challenges for the country's development. Steel mills.
It's just so sad to see what happened to this country.
Built by the Russians, partly in exchange for delivery of natural gas to the Soviet Union. Iranian assembly and manufacturing plants already produce the greater part of all motor vehicles now needed in the country. From the southern regions burnt by the scorching sun, the Trans-Iranian Railway provides one of the few connections to the Caspian littoral in the north, where rainfall reaches 60 inches per year. Yet, as everywhere in Iran, most of the country's 60,000 villages are isolated from the outside world, the greater part of them strewn over Iran's high plateau and mountains. Since students from the regular universities could not stand the hardships of nomadic life, tribesmen were trained at special faculties. They are wandering with the tribes, teaching 70,000 children a year in Iran's mobile schools, the schools of the white tents. The hearts of the Persians are still in the ruins of Persepolis, the ancient capital built in 520 BC by Darius, 230 years later burned by Alexander of Macedonia. In 1971,
I really want to see Persia come back, man.
Iran celebrates her 2,500th birthday as a nation, as a state, and as a monarchy, the oldest monarchy in the world with the youngest dynasty. But looking back to the empire of Cyrus, of Darius, of Xerxes, throughout the centuries, on the ruins of old towns, new ones were erected. And again, on the remnants of these, layer on layer, in this country so often invaded. During these thousands of years, the Iranians were often conquered, yet never colonized, so they remain a proud people, conscious of their history and of their heritage. This ancient land's armed forces today are continually equipped with the latest weapons. Iran's military strength has aroused suspicion.
This is why the CIA destroyed them. They didn't like how powerful the Shah was becoming, and they thought he was a risk. And so Jimmy Carter, and you even saw this in like Playboy magazine articles about how the Shah was this horrible person, all fabricated so that they could help the liberals, the liberal woke left at the time, and the Islamics overthrow the Shah. And we did that deliberately. We were part of that so that we could crush their military that was building up what we thought was too quickly. And we sent them into this fucking chaos, this beautiful civilization of people because of their military buildup and the fact that we didn't like how powerful they were becoming. These people were just like us. They were just like us. We have to let them be free again. We have to allow them to absorb and go back to their previous heritage, not just Persian. There were many different groups. It was only after Islamic radicalism came in and stole their country for this time. These people have never loved the Islamic groups within the country. They make up, Islam only makes up 1/3 or less of the country right now. We need to free these people. We're going to make so much money if that happens, guys. And America will be much better off for it. There's over 90 million people in Iran. Pray for their safety and for their freedom over this next week. And I think on that note, I'm probably going to call it today. It's been kind of a long morning already. Again, in 50 minutes, we'll get those results for the ISM data. Look at them and see what they look like. And if you see manufacturing prices maybe not being as aggressive and see stronger manufacturing data for December, I'd like to see it. It doesn't have to happen. But I do think, based on timing of when we started to do all these tariffs and when we started to create the executive orders trying to get people to invest, it's coming now. It should be coming now. We should start to see it this year. And so let's hope we see it in the data. And if we do, it's going to be a really great sign of what's to come. And I love you guys. Again, let's talk more and let's grow a lot as people over this next year and try and do, at least for me, a lot better than I did in 2025. So it's going to be a great year. And I hope to see a lot of you guys. Have a good one, okay?